Hey everyone, Stacy from Two Farms. Voice still not completely back the way it's supposed to be, but not quite as froggy as it was at one point. So I promised everybody a video on bartering and pantry storage, but in my research and everything that I'm looking at, I've kind of found that they're very interconnected. So it's really impossible to separate them out and tell you just what's for your bartering and just what's, because there's so much overlap. So what I will urge you to do is, if you are doing a bartering storage and a pantry storage, as you're buying for your bartering, pull from your bartering to refill your pantry with rotating dates. That way those items always get used, because you don't want to go to the time, expense, and money to have something go to bad. So with that, I will step off first with what is bartering. It's exchange of goods and services for other goods and services. So there's no actual money that changes hands. One of the reasons that we would be in that position to barter, and it's been around for as long as the world, I guess, would be because of a cashless society. And there's a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about going cashless. Lots of rules changing within digital systems for paying, Cash App rules, PayPal rules, Venmo, all of this stuff. The government says that it's cheaper to go cashless and less crime. I don't know that I buy into that, which I don't buy into a whole lot that the government says or does, but in my opinion, it gives us less of privacy. They're able to monitor every penny that comes in and out. Those old days of having that $100 bill stuck in your wallet to be able to, your mad money, it'll be useless, because everything will have to go through some digital service that the government sees exactly what you're spending and exactly what you're doing. So I'm not a big fan of it, but I do like bartering. I do like the thought of trading out for goods and services. So with that, I have looked at, I don't even know how many lists. I don't even know how many websites, survivalist websites, barter websites, mom, supply websites, trying to figure out what are the best items to have in a bartering situation. And there's a lot of overlap. So water is almost at the top of every single list, in the top 3 of every list that I found, because a human can only go 3 to 7 days without water. So 3 to 7 days without water, you're going to become incredibly desperate or dead. So having water, it's fairly cheap, it stores pretty easy, it's space consuming, so you have to have the means to be able to store water for bartering and even for your own use. And when the expiration dates get close, if you're buying, it will have a place to store it and be able to store it up. Just make sure, again, you're rotating those dates through and rotating it into your usable pantry items as you refill your barter items. And keep in mind that bartering doesn't mean that you're going to be giving them a case of water for whatever it is. It may be a bottle of water that you're bartering with. Nobody knows where we're going to end up, 6 months, a year from now. So value in these items may vary greatly, depend on the need and where we are. Food items, obviously canned, smoked, dehydrated, dry freezed items are all going to be very, very important and have high value. You can do these things on your own. I have started dehydrating items. I really like it. Tomorrow I will do my first beef jerky. I'm buying the meat tonight and going to marinate it overnight and try some beef jerky. I love fruits and vegetables in my dehydrator. It's super easy. I don't know why I didn't start dehydrating way earlier. I absolutely love it. And it's great snacks. I'm not building up a big stockpile of it because I do like it so good. I want to just eat everything that I dehydrate because it is so good. But really, really handy item. I want to get a second dehydrator so I can have them running more. They don't pull a lot of electricity, and I'm just really enjoying that. And it's almost foolproof, because even if I pull it out of my dehydrator, it seems crispy. I put it in jars and I go to condition it. shake it, a couple of times a day. A day or two later, I open it and it's not as crispy as I wanted. I just put it back into dehydrator and dehydrate it a little bit more. So super, almost foolproof kind of process, but great storage. If you don't have electricity for some reason, to be able to put things in coolers and refrigerators and freezers. So I'm really working on that dehydrating in. Spices, salt, sugar, pepper, things of that nature, garlic, all of those are great items to have. I have bought so many of these 1 pound, 10 ounce salts. I have a lot of them between Morton's and Aldi brand because it's cheap. It's cheap to buy. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. I mean, it's some room, but with the volume I bought, it probably does take up too much room. But in reading, I also should be buying boxes of the little packets of salt, because whatever I'm bartering for may not be a 1 pound, 10 ounce barter. It may only be a few packs. It may be hemming something. I wouldn't pay somebody to hem something because I can sew, but it may be something minor like that that's not of value for a whole container of salt. So I will be at some point adding from Sam's Club probably at least a case of individually packed sugars, individually packed salts and peppers, because at some point they may have value for me. And I can always use them. The expiration dates on salt and pepper is so far out there, years and years and years out. So it's fine. We can always use it. If nothing else, we can use it at a get together. You can always find use for it. I can donate it. Just because you have supplies stored up doesn't mean that you can't use them for other items other than bartering. There are always people in need. So having those supplies and being able to bless somebody else. I follow a lady, Patera. It's Appalachian Homestead with Patera, and she does blessing boxes. And I really, really, really find great joy watching Patera. She is funny and quirky and very smart and a very hard worker. I'm motivated by her and all that she has accomplished in just a few years. Her and her husband, they live in Tennessee, so their landscape is a little bit different. But I love their blessing boxes. They have blessing boxes up in their little town. And as she's able to buy extra stuff or have extra stuff at her home, she will go buy and put in. And just anybody who is in need can go buy and take out of. Now, these are things that you have to do in great faith, that people are not going to abuse the system. I can't be held responsible for what somebody else does, so I can only give with an open heart and hope that they are receiving it with a gracious heart. So, but I love the blessing boxes. So, if I have items that I'm not using with either bartering or in my pantry, before they go out of date, I can always donate them and find somebody that can use them. I want to stop right here for just a second. I realize people think I'm crazy. I get that. And so for my friends that follow me, it's okay. You can think I'm crazy too. But people thought Noah was crazy before he built the ark, and then they stood around and drowned later. No, I did not have a divine God come up and sit down on my bed and tell me, but I have been very burdened about this process for a year or so, maybe a little longer. And I feel like, and I've had good Christian friends contact me and go, Stacey, what are you doing? I mean, don't you have faith in God? Absolutely, 150 million% I do. But I also believe that God gives us a brain, and I believe that He lays on our heart to do things and to follow Him, not only prayerfully, but in action. So that's really where I got started with this in the very beginning, because I feel like He has called me to prepare for me and my family for whatever may lie ahead, whatever that is. I don't have a crystal ball, and He didn't, draw me a picture of what's going to happen, but He just laid it on my heart that I want to be prepared for whatever does happen. And while I'm still here, hopefully when things get really bad, I'm no longer here, but I might be. I don't know. I don't know what His plans are for me. So I'm going to follow that and prepare as best I can. And if I can share that knowledge and help somebody else get there, then that's what I'm going to do. I've lost friends from it. I'm okay with that. I pray for them. I hope they do well. And this may be all futile, but if there's any benefit in it later, then I feel like I have followed what God wanted me to do. So back to the list. In the spices category, I recently bought a case of these little spice jars. They seal. There's 24 of them. They come with cute little labels you can put on them. They're airtight, and they were less than $20, I think, on Amazon. My girlfriend, I think Pam, ordered some or similar to them, and I liked them. I am growing herbs. Rosemary has become my very best friend. I love it. It grows so easy, and it dries easy. So I will be putting up my own herbs and spices. I'm going to do rosemary, basil. As I branch out, I will do even more. I'm going to, with bell pepper, I will dehydrate them and powder some bell pepper and store them as well. Rosemary is expensive. If you buy dried rosemary in the store, it's pricey. So at Lowe's, I can buy 2 rosemary bushes or plants for $10 this week, and get many jars of these out of that by dehydrating and storing it. So it's financially smart, and growing something, if you haven't grown something, grow something. I don't care what it is, put something in the ground. It's so rewarding. I have people say, oh, I don't have a space. I'm not buying into that. I think it's more desire than space, because if you have a porch and a bucket or a pot, you can grow something. You can buy the plants, and potting soil is fairly inexpensive. Put a bell pepper plant or a pepper plant or a rosemary bush or a basil plant in a pot on your porch and start growing something, just something tiny. Start small. You can line your porch with buckets or planters. It doesn't have to be 5 acres on the back 40. It can be something small to begin with, but it is incredibly rewarding. I have several friends that have herb gardens on their counter with a heat lamp over it, and they are doing well. It doesn't have to be something huge, but everything benefits. You benefit from those. I've been baking fresh rosemary garlic bread for a couple of weeks now that a friend gave me the recipe, and I love being able to go out and clip rosemary off of my plant and then come right in and chop that up and put it in my bread. It is so good. It's the best bread ever. I mean, well, it's really the only bread I've ever made, but it's the best bread ever. So, and back to bartering, medical supplies. Medical supplies are on everybody's list. Doesn't have to be huge, but allergy meds, stool softeners, diarrhea medicine, bandages, burn creams. At some point, everybody's going to get injured and ill. Aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen, those things are always good barter items, because everybody's going to need them at some point. You can also go as far as to go into some pet supply websites and be able to buy bottles of antibiotics. Amoxicillin's amoxicillin. Doxycycline's doxycycline. So, if you want to go that far and have a store of antibiotics also on hand, you could also go and do that. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not giving medical advice. Just saying that those are options for your medical storage. Gloves, also wipes and gloves. There's a glove shortage right now. Some hospitals are having difficulty getting gloves. So if you have gloves stored up, you may want to continue to try to buy a box here and there. They're way more expensive than they used to be, but they're a commodity right now. As with CT contrast material, hospitals are having trouble, and that's for diagnostic testing, and they're having trouble getting it. This morning I read that in Australia they can't get eggs. All of their stores are without eggs, and they're saying this is July 2nd, that it may be October before they're able to fill the supply for eggs. Other countries are already starting to ration food. We are headed towards tight times. We may not be headed towards total collapse, but we are headed towards some tight times. And not being able to we already see it in our stores. Baby food, formula, diapers. We went through it with toilet paper. There are shortages, and there are already rations in some countries. And even here, you can, I was in, where was I? Sam's Club for the restaurant. and Jerry needed me to pick up a box of straws, and they have a limit on how many boxes of straws. It's 3 for the box of straws. We didn't need that many. Our restaurant's small, but it surprised me that there was a limit on it. Now, right now, they may not be enforcing that, but at some point they may, and you may not be able to get the things that you need in the quantity that you need. That's the reason I really believe that every time you go to the grocery store and you make your grocery list, pick 1 or 2 items and buy 1 extra of them, whether that be a box of rice, whether it be a can of peaches. It doesn't take going and buying $500 extra worth of groceries. 1 or 2 items per grocery visit will add to your pantry supply like you would not believe. And again, bartering supply, pantry supply are so intertwined that it was really hard for me to separate them out. In my pantry, I have items that I like. I'm not going to go buy 5 cases of Beanie Weenies. We don't eat Beanie Weenies. Not saying I'm too good for them. Not saying that I wouldn't eat them if I was hungry, but they're not something we seek out. So I have tried to fill our pantry with items that we actively eat because I don't want waste. I don't want to throw away things that we are not going to eat. So that is it. I will go back and forth between barter and pantry. Heat and light, candles, lanterns, flashlights, and batteries. Batteries, you want to have a good supply in your bartering, but you want to be able to rotate those out through your pantry because of the expiration dates. But lots and lots of batteries, and batteries are expensive. So when you can find them on sale, buy batteries. Better batteries, obviously, are the best bang for your buck. But if you can only find the cheaper ones, I mean, you can use the cheaper ones for your bartering. Feminine products. Nobody wants to have to use a rag at that time of month and then have to wash it out. My children would absolutely die. They would just curl up and die. A matter of fact, for most of this stuff, my children would not be well prepared or able to survive without some extreme leadership. So storing up feminine supplies, if you have girls in your house, you're going to need them. So it's just smart to stock up on them. They don't take up a whole lot of room under your sink, but they're really, really going to be valuable at some point. Plus, they also can be used as bandages if they were needed. Other items, baby wipes and hand wipes, they don't last as long. Their shelf life is pretty short, but it's still good to have some. And then oral care, toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, maybe even some of those little cavity kits that you can buy for an emergency, because you may not be able to get to a dentist. And so having those items to be able to barter, the guy that may be doing some work for you, that you're paying him with some salt, may mention that his kid has a cavity and he doesn't have means to get to a dentist, and you have one of these little cavity kits. You may be able to barter that out for more services or something to that matter. So always be thinking about that. Honey, I have a stockpile of honey. I have friends that sell honey. I have my favorite honeys, but honey will never go bad. Yes, it can crystallize, but if you set it out in the sun, I have some sitting out today, it dissolves those crystals. Honey's as good as it gets. Nothing gets better. So it also works on wounds. If you have a little scrapes and cuts, it's great for that, to heal those. So you can use it. Duct tape was on the list. A store of duct tape because it's so versatile and can be used for so many things. So I had never thought of that, but I will definitely be adding it to my barter, and even maybe a couple of rolls in my pantry. Plastic bags for disposal, because if things were to collapse, so we already saw this recently in Polk County, where garbage wasn't running over on the other side of the county and garbage was stored up in the streets. You want to have a means to dispose of your garbage. If we can't get DEF to run the diesel trucks, and trucks are garbage is just piling up, you want to have a way to dispose or at least contain it. You don't want it just laying everywhere, for sanitary reasons. Skills was at the top of everybody's list for barter items. Having a skill, I really hate that we got away from this in schools and pushed everybody to colleges, because we need welders, we need builders, we need carpenters, and we need mechanics. So having that skill set to be able to exchange for goods and other services is going to be vital at some point down the road. Um, Precious metals, but not really like gold bars or anything like that. I mean, unless you were making some huge purchase. But coins, gold and silver coins. And again, these are still for bigger purchases. These are for some sort of medical treatment or transportation, something bigger. You wouldn't be using this to get some meat or beans. I mean, you want to save that. Gold and silver tend not to lose their value, so if you have it, you really want to hold on to it for something really important. Vitamins, baby supplies, tarp, rope, laundry detergent. I was surprised cooking oil wasn't higher on the list. Cooking oil is really important to me. I have been stocking up on Crisco because it has such a high burn point, or cook point, so I stock up on Crisco. I really want to make tallow, but I haven't done that yet. That's off of the fats of meats that you cook, but I am looking into it. I want to do that because it has even higher cook point. And if by chance I needed to cook on an outside stove, propane or gas, then I don't want it to burn. Baking soda, baking powder, reading glasses. Reading glasses was on list, and I thought that was very interesting because I am blind. I cannot function without my glasses. I mean, I literally cannot function. I would not be able to see any of this. So I need to have my glasses. When I go get my new glasses every year, I keep my old prescriptions. So if by chance I wasn't able to get new glasses and my ones I'm currently wearing broke, at least I have a couple of years worth of older ones. The prescription's a little different, but it could get me by. So the same thing for readers. If you need readers to get by, I mean, they're not really expensive. Put a case or pack of them back just so you have them, but you might be able to barter them as well. And then sewing supplies, whether that be hand stitching or sewing machine sewing supplies. Just, because things, if in the extreme circumstance, you wouldn't be able to go out and just buy new clothes. You may need to fix the things that you already have. And there was another item that I saw mentioned in several articles, a solar shower. I haven't researched that, but I am, because if power is an issue, and even if you're not hooked up to solar power, there is an item you can buy called a solar shower. It sets up outside, and it's a way to can maintain hygiene, but do it with warm water. Because even though we're in Florida and it's 5 billion degrees right now, if you went outside to take a shower through the water hose, you would freeze your behindy off. So that's something to keep in mind too. I'm going to be looking into that. I think I might want to purchase a solar shower. Ammunition was on the list, but there are a lot of precautions that come with ammunition. One, it can turn on you, because if you are using that to barter, you're supplying somebody else with the means to take what you have. So as for me, our ammunition is for protection only. I don't know that there will be a case that I would use it for bartering, because I have it to protect what I have purchased and what I have built up in my supply and my family in our home. And I just want to preface this with the fact that you can take it to the bank that I would use it for protection. I will meet force with absolute force. So just want to make sure that's clear. And I hope that if you have ammunition and firearms, that you also feel the same way. Don't have something that you're not willing to use. So, but obviously I would help my friends and family if they needed, ammunition or supplies, but it's not something that I think I would actively use as a bartering tool, because I think that just gets a little too dangerous. I will make a list. When I post this video, I will make just a running list of these items. I don't know that I'm going to try to separate out bartering and pantry, because like I said, they just really go hand in hand. Anything that can go in your bartering really could be in your pantry. So I'll just put a running list on there. I'll try to link some of the sites that I looked at and read. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I feel like Pam and I both are pretty responsive. And none of this may ever need to be used. I hope it doesn't. But I never would have thought we are where we are now 2 years ago. I never thought I would be paying, $4.55 a gallon for gas. I never thought that there would be constant shortages in our stores. I never thought that there would be the risk of truckers not being able to run because urea is not being imported into the United States, which makes which makes the diesel engines run. So there's so many things that I never thought would happen are happening that I would rather be prepared than not prepared. I know this was a really long video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. I know we're really small. Like, share, follow. We ask if you find any value in this. And we look forward to talking to you again later. Thanks.